What did you send him under? Welcome in to the DNVR Avalanche Podcast show, whatever you want to call it. I'm Biggie and this is AJ. Maybe we're going to have the presence of Rudo a little later on. We're not too sure. It's a game time decision. We'll know after warm up if Rudo can join us. So, just like the Avalanche and the rest of the NHL, we are just not saying why. We're just saying game time decision. I'm just kidding. It's all good. How you doing, AJ? Everything good?
Yeah, man. Us New Englanders, we're enjoying the same weather right now. So it's like sunny one day, extremely rainy the next, and then off we
it's
go.
crazy. It
So
is
humid though.
crazy. Oh my God, nuts, and crazy sports world. Like every night, right? You got the NBA, you got the Nuggets tonight, right? You got
Yeah.
last night. Like I'm not a big NBA guy, as you know, and you got to feel for Jason Tatum, right? They say he's probably out for a while, and
That was
I
a
don't
bummer
know
to watch.
basketball. I don't know basketball enough. I don't know if they can come back from down 3-1, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they're good, but I don't
Without
know about
Tatum,
the
it's gonna be
Knicks. And
tough, but
yeah,
it has been pretty cool to see uh the enthusiasm around the Knicks around here. Obviously you're in Celtics country, so you have a little bit of a different view of the series, but around here, people are super excited for the Knicks, and I'm like, I don't really care. So cool. I'm worried about Denver, Oklahoma City.
yeah,
So, but it's cool. It's
absolutely.
cool to see. This is
Nuggets.
such a fun time of year. If your baseball team is worth a damn, or at least even slightly competent, you still care about that. And NBA and NHL playoffs are going on, and the NFL is finally out of our subconscious for like the 6 weeks of the year that we don't have to care about the NFL. So that's nice. I'm excited for all of this.
I have to admit, as you guys know, everyone knows I'm a one-trick pony, and Tiff knows. But I've been catching myself on social media looking at the Cleveland Browns, and obviously just because of DNVR buffs, and I follow the, Shador Sanders, and I'm
Hmm.
like, now I know who Dylan Gabriel is, and I had no clue. You know what I mean? You know me, I'm clueless, but so it's kind of funny, like see all those mini camps going on right now. When you're not concentrated every day on abs, you know what I mean? It just gives you a little bit of whatever. I'd much rather be concentrating on abs. Trust me. But and that's what we'll do today, right? Another show, another fun time, and probably in the second period we're gonna try to talk about those targets and like Brad is saying, they're Mitchy Marner and Steve is answering, and we'll get Chad interacting and everything. So we'll do that probably in the second period. First period, let's just go a little bit around the league right now and see what's going on last night and what are your thoughts and what are the crazy playoffs. And I saw a tweet the
Yeah.
other day. I thought it was the funniest tweet. It was like Edmonton Oilers in trouble getting the number one goaltender back. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think it was a joke. I was like, well, what are they talking about? Like, they're getting the number one goalie back. You know what I mean? But good on Stuart Skinner. Gets the bagel last night. Comes back. Calvin's been hurt, obviously. And Stewart comes back and he loses the weird game there 4-3 and then comes back with a bagel last night. So what are your thoughts there?
My thought is, can the Avalanche petition to play in the Pacific Division, please? Because none of us liked the Kings going into the postseason, and we all picked the Kings to beat the Oilers simply because no Ekholm, The Oilers had been so beat up, and then their goaltending was awful, and they should have lost that series. The Kings coughed up that series so badly, and now the Oilers are on one of those like those absolute insane heaters that they have the ability to get on over the last couple of years, where you're like, oh my god, now they're unstoppable. Now they're truly an absolute dominant force to be reckoned with, despite goaltending that still isn't any good. It's like every save that they get is worth a round of applause, and you're like, what about the 4 or 5 saves that aren't getting made on a regular basis? And then Stuart Skinner gets a shutout, they're up 3-1, and you're like, how? How in the world is this Vegas team getting bodied this hard by Edmonton? What is going? I just don't. I've never been like a big Aiden Hill truther, but watching him fall apart the way that he has in this series, I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Obviously, I picked Vegas in this series because I just didn't think that Edmonton had the goods. I didn't think they had the juice. They did not. I don't. Their round one win over the Kings was so uninspiring that I was like, I'm not buying this stock. And now they're freaking awesome. Where I'm like, well, do I dare pick against them in the next round? Because I'm not looking at Vegas at coming back now. Even with that goaltending, it's still so shaky. But they got the shutout, and Vegas looks like crap. So I don't. I that's a weird series. I don't know how this keeps happening with Edmonton getting. I mean, they get LA 4 years in a row. All right, there's your pass to the second round, and then last year they get Artur Shilov's backed Vancouver Canucks in the second round, and then this year they get the Aiden Hill implosion. Like, where can the Avalanche get a goalie implosion? I guess Connor Hellebuck last year kind of counted, but like everybody's gotten that. Vegas, Colorado, Dallas, St. Louis, the last 4 playoff opponents that have played against the Jets have kind of gotten the Hellebuck implosion. So I just I'm forever going to be a little salty that Colorado Dallas had to be a round one matchup, and this insanely overrated Jets team like scraped by the Blues. I'm just going to be salty about it. Don't mind me.
But it's funny because you can see so many comparables, though. The way I was looking at it last night, I'm looking at the easiest thing to do is McDavid, Draisaitl, right? You know what I mean? McKinnon, Makar, two of the greatest players in the league, right?
Yeah.
McDavid has an off year, whatever you want to call that, an off year, and then Draisaitl wins the Hart, or whatever, in contention for the Hart, right? Same thing with the Avalanche, right? Either one is at the best of their position, give and take, right? Mac and Makar.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. It just shows you, and I get it. Luck of the draw. I always say that. And I'm not going to be salty. I'll let you be salty about the draw, which is fair because it's fair. It's true. It's fair. I'm not making fun of you. You know that. Like I'm saying, I always say luck of the draw. That's one. You want to make it all the way. Your draw's got to be favorable. Usually, it's hard to get through a gauntlet. I'm not saying teams have never done it. That's not what I'm saying. So let's not take me word for it. I'm saying it's easy when you get an easier draw. It's easy when you get out of series early. So like Edmonton's got the chance to get out early if they're smart and they don't mess around tonight. You try to close it. Of course, it's the toughest game to close. We know that. Vegas is not going to roll over and just let them have it, right? Not going to happen. Injuries, obviously, is one thing. And then run into some hot goaltending. You know what I mean? So it's so weird, but it looks like the Edmonton Oilers. I'm gonna go to the Stan Bowman thing with those years in Chicago back then too. I'm gonna compare them to, and again, I never make fun of a player, but I'm gonna compare them to like the Antiniemi. You know what I mean? They won the cup with Antiniemi, right? Is
Yeah.
that fair? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh wow, we don't need that great of goaltending. You know what I mean to win. And then last year they go with it, even though not really him that built that Edmonton Oilers team that went to the finals last year, but oh, I can win with Stuart Skinner, and maybe they believe that. That's okay, and I'm not saying I'm not a believer. I like Stuart Skinner. I just I don't know if he takes you all the way, but he certainly almost did last year. And then this year, our good friend Calvin Pickard is their story. I mean, are you serious? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
love Calvin. But he's 6-0, and then he gets hurt. And then, what's his name? Stewart comes back in, Skinner, and then, loses. Everybody's all upside down. Oh, my God. You know what I mean? Like, he stinks. And, you know what I mean? And then he has and then he has a shutout last game. And Chuck V's right, too. I was going to move on to. And then Crawford became more of a household name, but he was a nobody. He was a guy that'd been in the minors for a few years. You know what I mean? Now, uh, you know, can you would think the Avalanche with stronger goaltending than whatever we're mentioning, would have gone. But again, it's the luck of the draw. We said it. It's a tough draw, and a lot of people were like, "Are you serious? Are you kidding me?" And again, we're salty because they lost. But you talk to national media, guys like Pierre LeBron or whatever, they're like, "Oh my God, it's the best hockey I've seen all year." Right? Because it was amazing. It's amazing. It was amazing hockey.
Yeah.
But it just for us, it stinks because you want to stand 4 rounds and you're gone by the first round. And there's no excuses.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, and it's a failure. It absolutely is. Sorry, I lost there. Boom, man.
That was me.
Um,
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. And then it's just can Vegas sustain that now and not sustain that, but can they get back up and punch back after being really punched in the face? You know what I mean? 4-0 and. Can they stay alive? I don't know. I'm going to go with Edmonton's they know how to win. And the one thing I'll say about Edmonton, though, that you didn't see all year from them is two things. I don't like the guy, but he's a pretty good hockey player. Evander Kane, he's making a difference. But again, I'm not, it's not my type, but pretty effective in the playoffs. And then who's the other guy? Our guy, you and I. Come on. We were looking for, he was high on our list, but he was hurt. Trent Frederick. So,
Oh yeah.
Frederick, right? I'm just saying. And then he was hurt, and then and these two guys have made a difference. They make their, and we talked about it yesterday. All of a sudden, Skinner, that's been waiting 1,000+ games to go in the playoffs, and then he doesn't have a spot in the rotation. You know what I mean? And it's like, guys like that have changed the face a little bit of the Oilers that you saw this year. Now I'm like you with their decor. I really thought they had no chance with Ekholm not being there, and Jake Wallman, and I'm just saying, whatever they did, you got to give them credit. They're one game away from another semifinals, another Western Conference Finals, right? So. You have two guys like that, you can win. It's just the way it is. Even though I don't know if you saw on social media, he was mad about his gloves yesterday. It was the funniest thing. Somebody didn't dry his gloves. He was giving it to the equipment guy, that McDavid. He didn't dry his gloves. He's like, you didn't. And the guy's like, well, you didn't give me your gloves. How can I dry your gloves? You don't give me your gloves. It was so funny. Like, it was hilarious. But anyway, so those are my thoughts on Vancouver. Edmonton and Vegas. Vancouver, Vegas. And then you got tonight, obviously, our good friend, the Dallas Stars, see what they do tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. So that's a big game on the schedule. It's the only game tonight, right? Only game tonight on the schedule. And then, we can touch quickly on Carolina. Again, it's like an afterthought, kind of. I don't know why, but everybody's saying Carolina's boring hockey. I don't care if it's boring. It must be effective because they're always right there. So it seems like they're really making no bones or base with the Washington Capitals right now. It's like they're just doing their thing and winning games, and it's not even close even. Like, you know what I mean? Well, it's low scoring, but I mean, if that's what they're comfortable in the mud, and that's what they want. So, I mean, I don't know what you think about that series, but for me, that's
I mean, I had picked Carolina in 5 because I just do not believe in Washington. The only reason I picked Washington in round 1 is because it was Montreal, and Montreal put up a significantly better fight than I was expecting, and I think that was a huge shot across the bow and threatened to kind of expose why the Caps have sort of felt like fraudsters to me all season. And this series has played out the way that I guess I would have envisioned it going to 5. With Carolina with a chance to close it out in 5. I just think Carolina's better. I think they're deeper. And look, it's about when you get that goaltending. Freddie Anderson being healthy and playing lights out. Well, that's what Logan Thompson did during the regular season. He's not doing it right now. And there's your difference, right? Freddie Anderson has had trouble staying healthy. When he's been healthy, he's a really good goaltender. And Carolina has continued to roll with him for years for this reason, is and getting him healthy at the right time, which is right now. Fine, they made the playoffs without him. Now he's healthy. Now they're rocking. And uh, I said it yesterday. I'll just continue to say it until I can't anymore. But go Canes.
I love it. And bear with me here. I'm going to do my inner Rudo here to talk and thank our wonderful partners here at DNVR Avalanche. So we're going to take a quick break and talk about our friends at Empire. Just like your favorite team needs a home court and field ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage. And Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today as flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installations as soon as the next day. So we have that at DNVR there. We used them. It was awesome. The flooring is beautiful on our set. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DNVR. Yes, you heard it right. A $350 discount with the code DNVR. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DNVR for full details. And you know, whatever the moment is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365, I'm going to be using that tonight for the Dallas-Winnipeg game. I am looking forward to looking at some fun stuff with my kids tonight, with my sons. I'm going to watch the game. Bet365 is now an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and Colorado Avalanche. With the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Breaking news from 365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up. Use the code DNVR365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER. TNCs apply. All right, let's get back to the second.
Nicely done, E. Nicely done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My inner Rudo here. Inner Rudo. I was really nervous. I'm sweating. I'm kidding. By the way, I just want to make sure Azuri gets a good day today. Have a good day. He's always great comments there. I always enjoy interacting with our good friend there. So hopefully you're having a good day or better day, and that's what we're here for. So second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. Let's talk about a little bit what we set out on the social media earlier about free agent targets, right? A little bit of UFA targets. We're going to talk a lot about this here coming up in the next, whatever it is, July 1st. What day is it right now? A month and a half. We got a month and a half.
We have a month and a half.
And then we could, somebody like Brad is talking about. Brad's on the ball today. That's something I want to talk about coming up here about offer sheets. I truly believe in offer sheets this summer because I just don't think that I don't think the UFA class is all that. And I don't think the Avalanche. Somebody earlier, I don't remember who he was talking about Mitchie Marner, and I'll have my point on that here in a second. But let's talk a little bit on. I think. How about we just go like this, AJ? Because you're smart and you've been around long enough around this team. And what do you think the layout or the planning is going to look like for Chris and the rest of the front office? And is it like in-house and then looking at to see, again, I'm going to use, what's his name? Lindgren. I'm going to use Brock Lieutenant Broxy Nelson, Corporal, whatever. Need Rudo to say his name here, but is that how it's going to be? You know what I mean? And go from there, right? I think internally those are going to be decisions made, and then go from there. What are your initial thoughts? And then we can go from there.
Yeah, I think that they're in a really tough spot here just because the money is as tight as it is with Landeskog back in action. Without the Landeskog 7 million, I think that they would have been able to. I mean, that's $7 million of flexibility they would have able to move around. Now they have that $7 million commitment back on the books. Obviously, they also have Landeskog back, which is great. Landeskog pretty much pushes out Jonathan Drouin, I think, probably out the door. I don't know that you can realistically keep him anymore. Before the Landeskog return, keeping Drouin, I think, it might have even been inevitable, regardless of how poor his playoffs was. At this point, I just don't see how they have the money for it. He's a wing. He's a wing who has to play in the top six, and he's not in the top six right now. When push came to shove in the postseason, he didn't outplay any of those guys, and he got demoted. So that's that. I just think that Drouin walking is probably something we have to accept as a likely occurrence. From there, I don't see Brock Nelson. We've said this all along. We don't think Brock Nelson is going to stay. We think he's going. When they acquired him, we said this is a really rich price for a guy that we think is going to go. He was an okay fit in Colorado. He didn't pop quite the way we wanted him to. I know that people are like, he didn't do anything in the playoffs, but I honestly thought he got a lot better as the series went on. Obviously, scoring a goal in the series would have been nice, but he was part of, the Landeskog, Nelson, Nichushkin line was their best line for multiple games. And it's not hard to see where you could get Soups excited about bringing Nelson back and letting that flourish a little bit. If it took a fourth year of commitment to get Nelson to stay, if he would be willing to do that and lower the price tag from say 7.5 million to 6, and you give him a fourth year, I would probably do it. But I understand all the downsides that people would have with him already being 33 years old and not being an amazing fit in his time in Colorado. I get it. So those internal guys that you start with are tough. And Lindgren, I think we know how much the Avs value him and know how much they valued him when maybe others didn't when they acquired him. And I think they acquired him with the intent of bringing him back, and I don't think his play was so good that it's a no-brainer, but I also don't think it bottomed out. I think that there were levels to it, and there were some things that he did really well and some things that really weren't as good that you wanted that were important components, namely his work on the penalty kill. I think was the area I was most disappointed with Lindgren. He's not very good with the puck. He's never going to be very good with the puck. It's just not happening. Like he's not that guy. It's not what he does. And I think that they set him up for tough situations at time by pairing him with Josh Manson. And I don't. If they bring Lindgren back, it's hard. I mean, knowing how much the Avs like to see the handedness stay true, lefties on the left, righties on the right. You're likely bringing Lindgren back to play on your third pairing. Do you have the luxury right now to spend $3 million plus on a third pairing guy that was okay for you?
Yeah, that's fair. If I can just add to Lindgren right there, this is my
Yeah.
thinking. My thinking is it's fair what you're saying about Lindgren, and I did like him. I thought he played to what we thought he was going to be, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, he wasn't, Norris Trophy, but he wasn't bad like people thought he was going to be. He was actually good in my book. I thought that was a good move. Now, I think his fate is tied into. Uh, I hate saying that because I hate talking about trades, but it's tied into if they decide to move on from, for example, a defenseman, and when you do the math, it's just we talked about it the other day. It's not Devontae's, it's not Cale Makar. So who is it? It leaves you Gerard and Manson, right? And I'm not
Yeah,
again. I love both. You know that I love both. I think Lindgren's tied into those two guys. Like if they're not moving on from any one of those two guys, then it's tough to have him as your third pairing guy at a certain amount of money, like you said, 3, 4, whatever it is, $1 million
yeah,
as your third pair. So I do believe they're tied into if they move on from your third or fourth. I don't like using names because I hate it. It's disrupting lives, right? But it's your third or fourth D, which clearly is who they are. And I think clearly on this team, Lindgren was the fifth D, right? You know what I mean? Let's call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
what I thought he was. So I think he's clearly tied into those two guys. Now, if the Avalanche go and find money somewhere else, is it? We talked about it. It's unless it's shock value and it's Natushkins of the world or whatever. You're talking about, Colton, Wood. I mean, it's nature of the beast. We talked about that. It's always been
yeah,
that way, always will be this way. It's the Burakovskis, it's the Avalanche 1.0, it's the Scott Young, the Mike Ritchies, right? I mean, that's who that is because you're not moving on from your superstars. And then you might be moving on from your second Terry guys, like the Natushka. I don't know, and that's what I'm saying. So I think Lindgren's tied into all that, and I
yeah,
think that I think Nelson is the guy like you talked about. They're going to try to keep, um, but always I've been there, I've seen it, and sometimes the price of happiness is what it is, right? I don't know
yeah,
Brock, but maybe it made a deal with his wife, and again, I'm not putting words in people's mouth. I'm saying sometimes you make a deal and say, "Honey, we're going home." When I hit free agency, we're going home. You know what I mean? Because it's time to go home and the kids and all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
yeah,
And again, assuming that Billy would want him with the Minnesota Wild and all that stuff, I'm saying, you know what I mean. I'm not saying I don't work for a team, so it's not tampering, but you know what I mean. I don't know, but and you can't fight that. Sometimes there's no price on that. It's not. I'm assuming he liked it here with the Avalanche. We would have liked to see more production, like we talked about, right? Goals and stuff, but his
mm,
line was pretty good when like Val and Gabe, like you said that point earlier. So who knows where that's going to go? I think there's a number in mind that the Avalanche are willing to go to, and I think it all ties in. It's a big puzzle. Last year, the summer, the puzzle was all tied into what was going to happen with Val, and then what was going to happen, obviously, with Gabe because it was so different than the 2 years before that. So I think that this year it's more the unknown of some of the free agents, right? If you sign Nelson, you could sign Nelson tomorrow. I mean,
yeah,
let's call it. I mean, I just so people understand. I know they do, but it's like it solves a lot of stuff if you can sign the guys you think you're going to sign. But again, it doesn't work like that in life because negotiations are always done with what a date, a target, and that's what moves things along. And it's just what it is. And but if Nelson wants to stay and wanted to stay and liked it, and we all know Bednar liked him. Obviously, I always spoke highly of him when he talked about him. Intelligent player. Then there's a number to be made. Maybe you see the Avalanche signing him. I don't know. I think
yeah.
that you're going to
And
see that soon coming up.
I do think that there is some surgery has to be done no matter what they want to do.
That's right.
They have to cut somewhere in order to even fill out their roster essentially next season. They're gonna have to trade some guys that are uh, that are good players, um, that just don't fit money wise anymore. And um, I know we're going to talk about free agents, so I'm not going to get too deep into what I think that could be on the table for them trade wise. But I think that's where they start, and some of it will be done with the idea of going into this into the free agent market because there are going to be some values to be had. There are values every year. It's just a matter of finding them. Uh, and so I think that's probably where we're headed in this conversation.
I like that. We'll keep it going there in the third period. But Right now, we're going to take our second break and talk to you a little bit about Toyota, the official vehicle of the Colorado Avalanche. There are 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides in SUVs like RAV4 and Grand Highlander. I actually had one last week. My mom got into a car accident, and then she had a Grand Highlander for a rental. So there you go. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Grove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR and the Colorado Avalanche. Let's go places. Also, we are brought to you by our good friends at UC Health. The DNVR Avalanche is brought to you by UC Health, the official healthcare partner of the Colorado Avalanche. Go to uchealth.org, uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary. All right. Well, we all want to go on a nice little. You're doing awesome with your health journey, so keep it up there, buddy. You're looking great. So just wanted to make sure that we don't forget that. And then also, if you want to get some merchandise and some shirts and all that kind of stuff, you can always go on our website at dnvr.com there and look at some of our merchandise, our t-shirts, and 75% off right now, 30% off the entire store, ALLCITYnetwork.com, and look at all the good stuff like the Good Stick Lecky, and you can become a diehard, and the Mac shirt, and there's some good stuff, some good Nugget stuff. There's some good MVP City. That's one of my favorites right there. Talking about Jokic.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And McKinnon is a good one, and the graphic is awesome, and it's just fun stuff. I think D-Line does a lot of good stuff for us, and kind of nice to be a part of something like this and wear a shirt like it's always fun, or a hat like I'm wearing right now. That's my go-to hat on our show. So. Loving it. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche. Let's get back a little bit to what we were talking about the UFA targets. But you're right. There's some construction to be made. It's not cut dry, just like last year was not cut dry, but it was different.
Yeah.
This year, it's a little bit different too, because there's some UFAs that, are of like the number 2C position, which is a big position, right? We all know. We've been talking about it for a few years now. And then are we going to still talk about it? I don't know. Can this be done before July 1st? Well, of course you would like to do that, and of course CMAC would like to do that if that's the direction they want to go in. Sometimes it's the team stalling, sometimes it's the player stalling, vice versa. So who knows what the negotiations are ongoing for sure. Usually you take a little bit of time after the season. So now you're talking about, a week or 10 days, whatever it is. And, I think people should get back on the phone here shortly. And, what are the thought process? What are the intentions? I think when everything's cordial, coming from the player, it's always nice to know, that, hey, as a matter of fact, there is zero chance, I'm going to somewhere else. If they can't say anything till July 1st, as we know. And I'm not saying there's any tampering. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm just saying.
I will.
Maybe that's okay. But you're just like, you know what I mean? Like, is it something you want? Is it something that the Avalanche want? And maybe the Avalanche don't want, and they're not willing to do it. I mean, we don't know. We're not part of the meetings. We can assume. We're assuming that they would want them. But then you don't go and get, because of the age, people are like Chucky's talking about like the age and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there is some hurdles there. You know what I mean? There's term, there's the age, there's the, it's not like they won. They didn't get out of the first round, right? I mean, there's a big difference. Yeah. You go on a 4-round spree, and next thing you know, it's different, right? You get out of the first round, there's sour feelings. There's, not blame feelings. I'm saying you didn't get the job done. Whether we like that the first round was dumb because of the way it came out, in a sense that two good teams going at it like that, yes, agree. But at the end of the day, there's no excuse for the Avalanche. They got bounced out in the first round. So that's where we're
Well,
at with
and
that.
with Nelson in particular, you're talking about a guy that over the last 5 seasons has exploded as a goal scorer, in his prime in his career, because he was like a fine like 20 goal, like 40, 50-ish point guy, and then over the last 5 seasons, you're talking 37, 36, 34, and then 26 goals. I guess that's 4 seasons. Over the last 4 seasons, has blown up as a goal scorer, and like his like down year is 26 goals. I mean,
Yeah.
his worst season in terms of production was this last season when he had 56 points. Like he's really, really, really good at what he does well, and part of my problem with him in Colorado was I didn't think they utilized him very well. They didn't utilize him in an intelligent way on the power play in particular. He's one of the best bumper players in the league. The Avs didn't use him on the bumper. They were sticking to comforts that had gotten them to where they were, totally justifiable. Jonathan Drouin, Val Nichushkin, like you can understand some of these decisions, but also the power play coach isn't around anymore for a reason. That was a unit that I think was misused, and when you talk about Brock Nelson and his time in Colorado, that is the number one area that stands out to me. Is he should have been in the middle of the ice on your top power play unit as both a puck retrieval guy and as a trigger man, especially with the way that McKinnon spent all season obsessed with trying to get the puck into that bumper spot. Use Brock Nelson there, utilize him in a more intelligent way. So that's, to me, that's frustrating. Um, that was a frustration, but you are talking about, like, yeah, he's 33. That's why you're talking about a 3 or a 4 year deal, and you're not talking about a 7 year deal, which is what you're talking about with Sam Bennett, who just had the first 50-point season of his career. So when you talk about track records, like, they are a little bit different. But Nelson and Bennett stacked up next to each other are actually really interesting, because Nelson provides you with a really good, this is why you bet big on Sam Bennett. This is why you're comfortable with it. Sure, he just had his first 50-point season of his career just now at age 28. But you look at the trajectory of Brock Nelson, it was the same thing. It was his late 20s when Nelson finally,
Yeah.
finally started to produce like that, and then blew up and finally lived up to that promise that the Islanders had just spent so long waiting on. And he went from being, he's an okay player who gets empty points on bad teams, to he's an impact player, he's a leading player on some really good Islanders teams. And Bennett, Sam Bennett, if he gets to market, I can't, the Panthers have too much money available to them for me to truly believe he's getting to market. But if he gets to market, Sam Bennett is everything that you want. He scores goals for you. He plays with an edge. He's completely insane. He brings that physicality and that nastiness that every NHL team wants more of. There isn't a team out there that goes, "No, we're good." You always want that. You always want more of that, and Sam Bennett would bring it in a big, big way, and kind of fills some gaps for you. Emotionally, Brock Nelson was more of a quiet guy, just kind of goes about his business. Sam Bennett's not quiet about anything. He's loud, he's obnoxious, he's physical, he's crazy. But he's also producing at a higher rate, and he's great in the playoffs. Sam Bennett should be Colorado's like dream scenario number one target. You'll trade Miles Wood and Josh Manson and Ross Colton and whatever else these guys around the edges in order to fit that salary in. Done. No problem. Do what you got to do. If Sam Bennett hits market, that should be the guy that you invest your time in.
Absolutely. And is someone going to overpay for him? Probably. I mean, because of everything you just said. With authority, with intensity, you were like into it. Why? Because that's what Sam Bennett is. And for me, I agree with the chat there. There's someone talking, a little Kadri-ish, a little, for me, the old guys, it's a little Claude Lemieux-ish. Sometimes they just rise up to the occasions and they can play hockey. And yeah, they told the line. They told the line. Sometimes it's like, crosses the line a little bit. But Sammy in Calgary, if you're talking about his trajectory back then, like, as you know, like I say it all the time, he had the nothing burger ice. He was always overpassed by everybody else. And then Matthew was the new toy. And, he was getting the the good ice, and then Sammy was getting the nothing burger ice. And I always say it's hard to produce if you're not getting the good power play, if you're not getting the top 6 minutes, And the problem with Sammy is there's so many coaches there in Calgary, the 3-4 coaches in a row, and then for some reason all the coaches were kind of like he was falling into that. Oh, he's a bottom six guy. You know what I mean? Oh, he's not doesn't have enough high hockey IQ to move on to be a top six guy. And then he would, again, Johnny Gaudreau was there. Monahan was there. Like I said, Matthew was coming in as the high pick. That was the new toy. And then always got, then what's his name? Lindholm came in. And, you know what I mean? So it was he always kind of got like, and then it was never going to happen in Calgary because he just wanted out. Right? He just wanted out. So, and people can say what they want. It's a bad trade. Sometimes it gets to a point of no return. And you just got to move on from the asset, and that's what they did. And and then you knew he was going to be good somewhere else because it's not, oh, I'm going to show Calgary. It's like I need a change of scenery. And then he's been fantastic as we know, in Florida. Teams will be going after him, and like you said, the team that has him love him, and they have the money for it. You would think that they're going to make room to keep him. Right? I mean, you're just thinking. And again, the playoffs, who knows what's going to happen here in the playoffs? They might get bounced out. Who knows? But they might go all the way. It's been 2 years in a row that they go all the way. So, that would be my number one target too. If you're moving on from let's say Nelson, or it's not working out, then, and then that's an important position for the Avalanche. It's an important position, and we're going to cross our fingers so we're not talking about this for months to come and say, oh, God, what are they going to do there? And again, that's the nature of the beast, right? If you go out there, you put your chips in and you win it all, then it's like, oh, what a call. You know what I mean? Now it's like, oh, but you tried. And I'm not going back on this because we can talk about it another day. We've talked enough about it. For me, the Avalanche and Chris, they swung and it didn't work out. I'm not even going to say it's a miss. It's like it didn't work out. It is what it is. So, but we're going to see. We're going to see what's going to happen, and we're going to see what they want. And somebody was talking about Mitch Marner earlier too. I think the first comment in the chat. I think Mitch Marner is a wonderful hockey player. I'm not, but I think that the Avalanche, if they really wanted to sign Mitch Marner, they would have kept Mikko Rantanen, right? They would have been right. It's not. But it's a fair comment. And they believe it's not going to work to have. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They don't believe that three guys at 12, 13, 14 million bucks is going to work. And they had their guy and they didn't think it was going to work. And that's why they drew their line at whatever was the number. Let's call it 12, and that's it. And that's what we can do. And the Avalanche and Mikko decided that wasn't going to work. And next thing you know, so I'm not sure that, you can, Marner's going to go and command 14 or whatever it is. It's going to be like that. And
he just plays the wrong position.
And on top of it, exactly. So I don't know, but it would be fun. But I don't think the Avalanche are big game hunting in the sense that the big names like that this summer, right? You know what I mean? Sammy Bennett, different number than Mitch Marner, even though I like Sammy Bennett's style for the Avalanche a lot better than, and again, no offense to Mitch Marner, but who knows?
Where do you go with Sam Bennett, like contract wise? Because if you give him $8 million, you're basically saying he absolutely has to continue the upward trajectory for point production.
He can get the point production in my book, as you know, because with Calgary and stuff, like I think that if Sam gets the ice time that he gets and he gets the decent wingers, he's going to give you production. You know what I mean? So I don't think the drive is going to go away. I think the drive has been there. The drive is there. Look, they won last year. He's still going 100 miles an hour right now like a freight train, and you know what I mean. And it's not like he's like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's his drug. He wants more. He wants more silver things. You know what I mean? And I think that he's got a belief in himself. Back then, somebody was telling me in the organization, like, this guy believes that he's as good as McDavid. Again, I'm still, he thinks he's good, and he is good. And there's a belief in himself on how to make plays. And you saw him make that play. Was it 2 games ago or was it last game? Again, they all blend in every night. But remember, he slows the play down, then he cuts across. I mean, that's an elite play. That's not a nothing burger play from like a guy like me, or like a just goes off your leg, or go to the net, and that's an elite play. And I think Sam is elite, but he brings you a little bit of everything, right? So it's not just like um, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's just a lot of grit. It's a lot of heart, and there's a lot
Yeah,
of talent. There's a lot of
yeah,
talent that you're right. The potential was there earlier on. What is he, fourth overall? Sammy was like four, right?
yeah. He was
Five,
the top
whatever
five
it was.
pick.
He couldn't make a pull up, and everybody was saying, "Oh God, this guy can't make a pull up, but he'll kick the crack. He'll kick the crap out of you, but he
Yeah,
can't make a pull up." Great, awesome. Um, but anyway, I just think that it's going to be interesting to see. I just wish that they could get an answer from Brock Nelson either way, or even give an answer to Brock Nelson. And maybe they can. Maybe Chris is. They've started their meetings, and it's like, we can't. We got to figure out this, and that first, and that's tied
yeah.
into this, and who knows? But you would think the 2C thing is their number one priority. So
It
I
has
don't
to
know
be.
how they're gonna. It has to be. I just don't know how it's gonna play out. But we'll see. And I think this is going to
Yeah.
dictate again how the Avalanche are going to go about. And if that's not working out, is it going to be the offer sheets? And somebody was talking about, I don't
They
remember who
they
wrote it,
can't.
Marco. No, but that's what I'm saying. They don't have the assets, and that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
So in order to get the assets, you got to trade, like I said, your number 3 and your 4D, whatever it is, and you're getting picks in return, and then you're using those picks to go get, you know what I mean, like an offer sheet.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just there's a lot of ways, but you've wasted. When I say wasted, you've used a lot of draft capital the last couple of years to 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 go for it, right? Especially this year,
Yeah.
and now you don't have a lot of
Well,
ammo.
I think to kind of enhance your point about if you give Bennett better line mates, he has his best statistical season, and his line mates this year are Kachuk and Verhage, and
That's it.
those are the best line mates that he's had in his career. If he comes to Colorado, you're talking about Landeskog, Nichushkin, Lehkonen, and Netchus. Like two of those four guys are going to be who he plays in between. So you feel like, yeah, those guys, none of those guys are as good as Matthew Kachuk, but I would take most of them over Carter Verhage. And in the postseason, he's been with Kachuk and Evan Rodriguez.
Yep.
So, you are looking at, hey, Sam Bennett is the guy, but there are some other guys really quickly that I don't want us to spend all show just on this. Some other guys
Fair.
on this
Fair.
list that I would like to, because I know you and I are going to focus on the center position because it's the number one thing. There are
It
defenders out
is.
there that I think are really interesting. If Dmitry Orlov springs loose, I would be very interested uh, in Dmitry Orlov. Vladislav Gavrikov is a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I worry about Aaron Ekblad as kind of like a landmine. His play has really declined over the last few years. There's always, there have been injuries. He had the suspension this year. Like there's a lot going on there. But he's big, he's right-handed, and he's done a little bit of everything in his career. And it's not hard to see where uh, drop him into Colorado's system and let him be a little more of an offensive guy.
Okay.
That is, Ekblad is a guy that you would have to sell me on, but I would be at least interested in. The problem is the Avs don't really have the money to go for that guy right now. Like they would have to.
Nope.
They've traded Manson and Gerard, and they're looking for a high end third banana to go out there. They're looking for their Ryan McDonough kind of guy, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the rub there. Um, if they were going to do that, Gavrikov doesn't really fit in with how they play skating wise. He's pretty slow. He doesn't have the feet that the Avs would prefer, but has that. He's a defensive like eraser on the back end. The guy's only gotten better and better defensively over the last couple of years. Unfortunately for Colorado, this free agent class is good where the Avs just don't need. Uh, Mitch Marner, top guy out there. Mikael Granlund isn't really a center. You can play him there, but if you played him there, he's playing a little bit out of position, and you're asking him to be something he's really not. Um, Nikolai Ehlers would be amazing fit for Colorado. He would be like a perfect Av. He's just a wing.
No,
He's
you're
just a
right.
wing. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they've, as mentioned, with Landeskog returning, they push Drouin out the door. You don't then turn around and give a bunch of money uh, to another wing. You know, like you just uh, Claude Giroux is another guy that I think if he would leave Ottawa, we had the Giroux conversation a few years ago. He's not really a center anymore. You could play him there. He's excellent on faceoff still, so that would be nice. He's
Yeah.
right-handed, so that would be nice. But I, if you wanted him, it's kind of like the Granlund conversation, where if you're willing to play these guys at positions they don't really fit in anymore in their career, then sure, I guess you could do it. But you would be asking those guys to do something that probably isn't the best use of their skill sets. Pius Suter, a guy that I loved for many, many years, even when he was undrafted. I was like, why isn't this guy in the league? He's a good player. Not a guy that I want in a playoff series. To me, he's like a souped-up version of what Dennis Mulligan was. That's a really good regular season player, a guy that gets you through 82 games and does not get you through 4 rounds of the postseason. Just not my thing. Um, so those are guys that I'm kind of keeping at the forefront of my brain. Brock Besser is another guy. I think he'd be a really good fit in Colorado, and you can make a good argument that his ability to score goals, that's what he does. That's who he is a goal scorer first, and in everything else second, would be exactly what the Avalanche need. Just some easy goals, but not. Again, he's a wing. You would have to get rid of one of your guys. You would have to get rid of one of Nichushkin, Netchus, Landeskog, or Lehkonen. I have a hard time seeing the Avs moving on from any of those guys this summer. So uh, I just don't think that that's in the cards. And continuing to go down this list, there are players that I like that I just don't know that they would be great fits. But I've always been an Andrew Mangiapane fan, but that doesn't, that's a down the roster.
Munch.
Yeah, like he's a good player who had a 30 goal season out of nowhere a couple of years ago that everybody got everybody way too hyped for him. But the one guy Chad has mentioned a couple of times, I want to make sure we touch on Marco Rossi out of Minnesota. For some
Yeah.
insane reason, the Wild seemed very comfortable moving on from him. He was playing on their fourth line. He has a 60-point season after scoring 20 goals. Starts to look like the center that they envisioned when they used a top 10 pick on him a couple of years ago. Seems like he's on the outs in Minnesota, and I'm
Yeah.
not entirely sure why. Is it just because he's 5'9" and plays sort of a softer game and is not, you know, funny enough? The guy that I think they'll bring in is Brock Nelson. But is it really just because of Rossi's size? Like, is that really why the Wild would be on the outs with this guy?
I don't know. I mean, it's obviously this is a kid that got sick and he missed a little bit of time, but came back strong and has played well. And just I don't know. I heard somebody today, maybe it was in NHL radio. I don't know, saying about you know why would Minnesota want to move on from him? So obviously, again, it's the same thing. We talked about Sam Bennett for 10 minutes today. Same thing. Why did Calgary Flames moved on for Sam Bennett? Sometimes it's just it's not a fit there. It's not working at that time. The player wants out. Player wants a new scenery. You want a new scenery. Who knows? But yeah,
Yeah,
and again, who knows what's going to happen? I like Marco Rossi. I mean, he's sure 5'9", but doesn't play like a 5'9" guy. I think he's a
that's
fighter,
my
and
thing too.
yeah, you know what I mean. He's a fighter, right? He's never had it easy because of his size, and he's obviously that disease, and it's pretty cool. Um, I know somebody was asking in chat about, and I'm going to go and ask it to you. I think they were asking you, AJ, what's your number for Drouin to keep him?
I don't. Without knowing what else they do, I don't even know if they're like if he'll come back and play for $1 million again. Sure, but until they would have to do other things. They would have to move Colton. They have to move Wood. They have to do other things in order for me to be interested in bringing Duran back right away. Like he's just not a priority right now. because their other priorities are there. Their top 6 wings are set. So my number for Drouin is going to be unrealistically low, and I don't know that they're going to I don't know they're going to get him to give them a third straight sweetheart deal.
Yeah, at some point, right? And we all know that. At first, it made sense because Alan Walsh and his representation obviously drew in, like you said, a sweetheart deal to come to Colorado made sense. He
Yeah,
already had made a lot of money in his career, right? He signed that big
yeah.
deal. Was it Montreal that gave it to him or Tampa? I think it was Montreal that gave him the deal,
It
right?
was Montreal.
Yeah. So obviously he came from Tampa, but so you're like, okay, I'm going to do a reset, which was awesome, and it worked, and it was
Yeah,
working this year, and until he again got injured again, and then really didn't find his place back in really where in the lineup where it was. You were talking about some minutes, games he played 10 minutes and 11 minutes, where last year he was playing 20 something minutes. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I know he got hurt in the playoffs, but he was a bigger key than this year for some reason, and maybe they're going to need him. I don't know. We'll see. Again, that's another interesting and story that's going to develop. And Jonathan, when he's on his game, he's a good player, and we all know
Yeah, he
that. And it
is.
was a feel good story last year. It was a great story. It was a feel good story last summer. It was fun, but we'll see. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I
I
think
think
it's going
that's
to be
part of what
interesting.
sucks, man. He is a good player.
Yeah.
Like he's a good like complementary winger. He's not a top line guy, but
Yeah.
he drives a little bit of offense. He's a really good playmaker. He's really smart. We saw him do things defensively, especially his first year in Colorado. That didn't happen as
Yeah.
much this last season, but was really good in the neutral zone with the stick. Used that hockey intelligence. Like there are a lot of aspects of Jonathan Duran's game I really like, but he's a complementary player, and the Avs unfortunately are just kind of full on those guys right now. So it's just he's just more of a victim of circumstance right now more than anything else. Um, but I do like the player, and I think his move to Colorado has shown him to be a solid NHLer that just needs to be used in a good role, and not not be in the spotlight. A bad postseason has really kind of left certainly Avalanche fans with a kind of a stink around him right now, where it's like
It's it's
there's
a
such a
man.
negative perception of him right now
Yeah.
just because of the postseason. They forget that during the regular season this year, he was really, really good. And he didn't play very much in the playoffs last year because of injury, but those couple games he played, he was really good too.
But it's
So,
amazing. It's amazing because somebody I heard him on, was it yesterday or today? Anyway, I don't remember. They were talking about their path, and I think it was Billy Lindsay talking about back then Florida Panthers. They went on that run, right, '96, and he said it added 5 6 years to my career. I used to always say that you're a cup winner. You're on a deep playoff run. It adds 4 5 6 years to your career because people want winners, and then they've seen that
yeah.
you can do it when there's 8 teams, 4 teams, 2 teams, and it does make a difference. So for some players, yes, that short playoff run was costly. Whether even Nelson or Drouin or whatever it is, it could be costly monetarily. It just is. It's a fact of life. So it'll be interesting to see what the Avalanche are going to do. We're going to talk about it obviously all summer. We're going to have some shows ready for this. Maybe tomorrow we can talk about all the coaches' openings in the National Hockey League, all the GM openings in the National Hockey League, even though this sounds like Kenny Holland's going to LA and stuff like that. So there's a lot we can cover on things like that tomorrow. Should be fun. Um, Obviously, we'll have some guests probably Thursday and Friday. We'll see. We'll get confirmation on that. Should be fun and get some youthful enthusiasm on our show here a little bit. And not that, I mean, AJ's a young man, so Tiff's a young lady. I'm just the old guy. But
No
Rudo's in between.
enthusiasm, though.
True.
So, it's it'll be fun. It was fun to interact with chat. Awesome. I mean, again, we love being around chat and having some fun, and it's going to be a fun summer. A summer that's longer than we had anticipated, obviously. But follow us all the time on DNVR Avalanche and all our social channels, and you can still come by the NVR bar and get some good food and Chef Rob there. So it's always a good time, and we thank you, and thanks for listening, and we're going to see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.